They paid a graphic designer to do this when ChatGPT AI can do it in 30 seconds. I'd fire this graphic designer. What? Thanks, ChatGPT. All right, let's get into creating the Alaska 2025 cruise shirt. So I'm going to start with ChatGPT. Today is May 20th, 2025, so whatever version that is, and I am on the free version. So you can see here, I'm on the free version. I'm going to enter in a prompt that will give me more prompts. So this is a prompt. I'm starting with the Alaskan cruise boat design, prompts in style of lowbrow pop surrealism meets retro kawaii vector art, using a Midjourney ready format. I don't know why I'm doing this, but it seemed to have worked in the past. And each prompt must include the main phrase, and let's say Alaska Cruise 2025, and a subtext Smith family. So again, you can change this to whatever you want. White background, a 3-color pastel retro palette. You can always optimize that to your liking. And a consistent final format, such as the following, where it'll give you the phrase, and the important thing here is the aspect ratio, because this will work well with a t-shirt. So let's press enter and see what it comes up with. So this is pretty fast, and there are a few options to choose from. See a narwhal, robot. Oh, here's one. Here's one I want to check out. So a cruise ship with anime eyes. What else is there? There's a walrus sipping on bubble tea, Arctic fox. Let's go with a cruise ship. So now I'm going to click create image and then paste this entire prompt and see what it creates. So it's telling me it's going to take a bit. I'll be right back once this is done. All right, I like what I'm seeing. So first try, and it says Alaska Cruise 2025. So make sure to always spell check. Smith family on the bottom here. The colors, they look fun. Looks like a good time. A little bit of retro cassette tapes for the adults. Googly eyes for the kids. All right, so what's next? Let's click on the image. Let's save the image. Save it to a file that we're working with. Now let's move over to Kittl. So we're gonna work with a new project. Let me start this up, new project. Now, if you don't have Kittl already, there's a trial down below. So you can just try it for free. Make sure to cancel if it's not for you, but it is totally free to try. We're gonna set this to inches, 300 DPI. T-shirt for this one, I know I'm gonna have some kids wear this. I don't want this. Maybe I'm gonna do 2 sizes. So I'm thinking 9 inches wide and maybe 10 inches wide. So let's start with adults. We can always shrink it easily. Let's go 10 inches wide. And I definitely don't want this over 15 inches. So let's start with this as our artboard. I don't need a margin. Click create. Now I'm going to take this image. I can copy and paste. All right. If you notice that this image is a little bit small, if I stretch it, it'll probably pixelate it. So what I'm gonna do here now is vectorize it. Let's choose a number of colors. Let's just max it out at Kittl's maximum is 16. Let's try vectorizing it. Now we can see all the colors, and let's hide that background color. And now I believe I can stretch it to as big as I want. So let's keep the aspect ratio here locked. Change the width to 10. and that gives us 14.97. I'm not liking what I see here. I see these little lines in between when I just vectorized a smaller image. Let's try something else. So I'm gonna copy this. I'll leave this here so we can compare. Let's paste the image again, upscale the image, remove the background, and then vectorize it. And let's limit the colors to, let's say 6 colors. Now resize it to 10 inches wide and then zoom in and compare. So now you see there's a difference there. It's a lot smoother. You don't have the extra lines in between the outline, the dark green outline there. This is passable, whereas this one would not be acceptable with my standards. So let's bring this over, center it. Now we have a design that took a minute to create. So let's go ahead and export this by going to the upper right side, share, click download project. Let's make sure we're at 10 inches by 15 still, which is what we said in the beginning. We only have one artboard, so we don't have to worry about that. Let's just choose PNG, remove background. Let's keep that. Optimize quality. Download, and ask me to download. And let's check it out. Let's see how it looks. So this was the original from Chat GPT. If I zoom into it, it'll be pixelated. Let's open this newly exported Kittl file. You can see that this is all black here because it's a transparent background, and it's a lot cleaner. Look at that. It's smooth edges for what we need it for, and it only took a minute or two to create this. Now let's bring it over to our uploader. So transfersuperstars.com, go to transfers, transfer by size, and just drag and drop it in there. Let's see how it looks. So with our uploader, you can see that it is a transparent background. So that's one way of easily checking for that. Measurements look good. Now, let's get our DTF ordered, pick them up, and get them printed onto shirts.
Having fun watching? We got plenty more where that came from. Check out our channel for more tutorials, tips, and creative ideas. When you're ready to bring your designs to life, visit transfersuperstars.com for high quality DTF prints that stand out.
All right, I'm back with the prints. Look at that. They're nice and big. So these prints here, let me measure them just to make sure that they're exactly how I wanted them to be. Yep, 10 inches wide and roughly about 14 and some inches in height. So that'll fit basically any shirt from small through XXL. I'm gonna be using a Smart Blanks t-shirt. This is a large, it's 100% cotton, so completely compatible with DTF. Ring spun makes it nice and soft. The thing about these shirts are these seams that are on the sides. So there's one on each side. That makes it a lot easier for you to measure the center point. Some of the cheaper shirts that are tubular, they do not have seams, so it's really difficult for you to tell where the center is for this bottom section. And what I'll be using to press is the 15 by 15 clamshell press. This gives enough pressure for DTF and really embeds the DTF into the shirt. So let's fire it up. The other thing we did with this one is modify the top portion by adding a Teflon onto it, just a couple magnets, cheap magnets you can find anywhere. You can probably do the same job with some heat tape and just drape it along the top. So that saves you a step from having to put that Teflon on top of your print every single time. So another thing to think about when you're using a 15 by 15 press is the size of your image. So luckily this size fits within the 15 by 15. It's actually not quite 15 by 15 if you measure it. So that's another thing to consider the heating element. Like this bottom section is going to be 15 by 15, but the heating element is slightly smaller than that. It's roughly about 14.75. So just something to consider. Something I don't like about these presses is this moving thing, this moving cushion here. So up to you on what works for your process, but a hack that I like to use is to get some heat tape like that, put it on the corner and just have it hold it down. So I'm just gonna put one on each corner. That way I can wrap it around the bottoms and give it more stability. So now it doesn't move around. Next step is we're gonna cut these into pieces. We have 4 pieces here. Now that I have the transfer, let's put it onto the shirt. Since this is a little bit big to be using it straight on the pallet, we'll just align it on the shirt. So typically on a large t-shirt, you'll want to do 3 to 4 inches. 3 to 4 inches is roughly about my 4 fingers length or 5 fingers. So I would probably do around 3 fingers for small through large, 4 fingers for extra large, 2XL, 3XL. So it's just a lot easier if you just use your finger to align it. So I know that the distance between my design and the bottom seam collar is 3 inches there. But the other thing is we want to find the center point of our design. So in order to do that, we lightly fold it in half and give it a small crease on top there. Do the same thing with the bottom side. That way we know that's the center of the design. In order to know what the center of the shirt is, I still use my hands. And I know this design is from here to here. So you can use your thumbs to slightly move it. Let's measure the top again. Roughly about there, and from this side to this side you can just kind of center it. Same thing with the bottom here. Since I have these side seams, as I mentioned earlier, it's just a little bit easier to figure out where the sides are so that you can find your center point. So that's about right. So again, it doesn't have to be perfect. The shirts aren't even made perfect, so just as long as it's pretty close, that should be good enough. So this is pretty good there. I'm gonna take some tape from our dispenser. Touch it to feel, make sure it's on the pallet completely. Luckily this design fits. And my settings on the heat press are 300 degrees, 7 seconds. I've already tested the pressure earlier to make sure. See, that way it should be tight to push down. This is a semi-automatic press, so it's going to pop up by itself after 7 seconds. You can either use a microfiber towel or your hand. This is easier for me since I have a long sleeve. Just kind of give it a little rub. You especially want to do this if you have fine details. This one shouldn't be a problem. Okay, so let's take it off, let it cool completely. That's what I suggest for beginners because it's basically foolproof. And while this is cooling down, we can put our other shirt on to this if you're doing this for a larger production. So if you have 2 people, you'll have someone put it on while this other person is going to be peeling. So let's peel it just a little just to make sure. Let's take off this tape so we can do a consistent peel. And then in production, you could have a second press, but basically someone can be pressing, someone can be peeling, someone else can be doing the second press or a combination of that. And we can either use the back side of this transfer to press it the second time around. What that does is it embeds the DTF ink into the fibers. What you're looking for is the vertical lines that you see on the shirt, but also seeing that vertical line embedded and through the DTF transfer itself. All right, let's take this off. That looks real nice. Nicely embedded in there. I can see the vertical lines on the transfer itself. Finishing touch to a shirt like this. I mean, you can always add your own logo here, but it's a tearaway tag. There you go. Now it's a custom white shirt. So just a few things if you're gonna be using this shirt, I just wanted to point out. This is a large shirt. Our design was 10 inches wide. You could probably go 11 inches. It would look a little bit better on the large shirt or for larger sizes. So 10 inches here, but the shirt is actually in width close to 22 inches. So about 21.75 or 21 and a half. So 21 and a half compared to 10 inches, you're at like a 50% ratio there. So just some perspective on how much space we're using compared to the actual shirt. Now that we've pressed on a t-shirt using the 15 by 15 inch heat press, let's compare it to the 16 by 20 Heatmaster Prisma. So again, we have our transfer, our t-shirt, the Smart Blanks 100% cotton. We have the Heatmaster Prisma. I've already preheated it to 300 degrees. Have our laser set up. It's a pull out, so it's a lot easier to align. We don't have to pre-align it like earlier on the shirt. Let's align the laser, so just make sure that it is aligned correctly. This is at 3 inches here, so 3 inches. We'll align the shirt to the seam of the neck collar. So two ways of putting this on if you're printing upside down, but this is very much like very close to screen printing, where you can feel these seams here. You can lift this up to check if the distances between the platen where it creates this crease here and where the seams are equal on each side. That'll give you a nice center point. This part as well. So when you angle it a certain way, you can see the crease, you can see the distance between the seams on the sides are, to be able to get each side to be even. When it's even up here on top and even up here, then your shirt is even, and that's when your laser will come into play and make sense. Let's find the center point of this. So once you get your first center point here, you'll be able to take note, okay, so my center point is right at this Alaska where ALA and SKA are cut in half. So I don't need to make this crease anymore. This is just the first time, so I know where the center is. Same thing with the bottom. I can memorize that it's where this F is. So between the middle of Alaska and where the F starts are my two center points. And you would just align that every time. So that'll make the process a lot faster with this larger heat press. So one, you're saving time aligning the shirt because you're not having to tape it down. You're saving money on tape, and you're able to align it directly on the press. So now you would just push this in. Again, before you press, make sure that you have ample pressure. So a lot of times people make a mistake when they press a hoodie that's super thick, and then they go to a shirt and they press it and wonder why it's not pressing with enough pressure. It's because they forgot to tighten it and set it for a t-shirt setting versus a thick hoodie type setting. So let's press. I have it set at 300 degrees, 7 seconds. It's counting down, automatic pop-up. So we have the Teflon on top already, so we skipped that step as well. And let's go. That was hot. I'm gonna use my shirt or sweater, kind of go over everything. Again, you wanna do this with the fine details. And then right on the press, you can peel. And then you can use the back side of this, or what I really like to use is the matte finishing sheet. So this will give it a lot more of a matte finish. So I have the cotton side down. This is reinforced. So cotton side down onto this. We're gonna press it, heavy pressure, give it the vertical lines, but also with all the nooks and crannies of this, will make it look like a screen printed type of print. So that's a desired look. And you see that it's embedded really well into the shirt. Can't even tell that it's DTF. That's how well the technology has advanced. And that's our Alaska Cruise 2025 Smith Family t-shirt. All right, I hope you guys were able to find some insight on how to use AI like Chat GPT on how to create your next event type t-shirts. You can customize the top with your words, on the bottom with something else, pop that into Kittl and come up with a print ready type graphic on creating DTF transfers. And then after that, we were able to print on the 15x15 press, the 16x20 press, utilize lasers, align it correctly on both machines, and then utilize our heat transfers printed by us, press them on in a way that makes it look like it's screen printing. All right, so just make sure you hit the like button down below, show me some love. Make sure to put the links down below for ChatGPT, Kittl, the laser, smart blanks, heat press, and DTF transfers. Utilize those resources. You'll be able to create your own t-shirts for events in no time. Thank you.